and welcome to the 2pm News. My name is Isabel. It is astonishing to think that in 2017, both men and women are openly shamed for the ways they choose to care for their child in a public setting. It is impossible to deny that a child's health and well-being should be a priority for not only mothers and fathers, but for the public as well. However, countless instances of members of the public abusing parents displays that this is simply not the case. Many women who choose to breastfeed their child in public are met with patronising and sometimes abusive comments. Last year, a Spanish member of Congress caused an outcry after breastfeeding her baby in Parliament. Not long after, the Victorian Country Fire Authority posted a photo of a breastfeeding volunteer and faced a wave of media backlash. Following this, a Queensland woman was told to cover up or leave at a local cafe. Unfortunately, these are not isolated events, and rather are alarmingly frequent in today's society. Despite the fact that public breastfeeding is legal in all areas of Australia, mothers are still being publicly scorned for simply feeding and comforting their child. This is leading to calls for women to be decent, to cover up, and to be modest, which are all simply downright tasteless. It seems as though society's perception of decency and its inability to view breast non-sexually is the root cause of this discrimination. The fact that 96% of Australian mothers initiate breastfeeding means this is an extremely important issue that must be acknowledged and addressed. However, it is obvious that this is not being achieved due to the frequent occurrence of these events. Unfortunately, it is not just mothers who are being publicly shamed when it comes to the public care of their child. There has been an increasing number of cases where men are being humiliated and harassed for using public parents' changing rooms. Most recently, a Queensland man was labelled disgusting by local shoppers as he changed a 7-week-old baby in a shopping centre's parents' room. The man was told by a nearby father that he had to get used to it because it was simply a normal event. Men have the same rights as their female counterparts regarding changing rooms, as there is no reason to indicate they shouldn't. However, many fathers are evidently made to feel as though they are not welcome in such a space, displaying that a huge amount of people are negatively affected by this issue. In order to combat this discrimination, the views of mothers, fathers, and the public need to be considered, as they are all stakeholders in the issue. And importantly, the language that each of these stakeholders utilise to convey their point of view will be touched on by our reporters. Over to Michael.
Thanks, Isabel. As mentioned, it is a fact that women are scrutinised for taking care of their children in public, whether that be breastfeeding, discipline, or just looking after their child. I've interviewed many mothers as a primary source to gain insight into the situation, as they are directly involved. I've interviewed 10 mothers with an age range from 16 years old through to 54 years old, attempting to gain a broad result. I've chosen mothers specifically because they are my stakeholder and have first-hand experience that can be shared. They have all responded to my questions in an equivalent manner, serious yet informative, although their responses were very contrasting with the questions I had given. When asking the mothers what their opinion was on breastfeeding, I found that only 80% of them were able to breastfeed. The other 20% were not able to due to being too sensitive. Both wished they could have breastfed and recommended to try it. When asking the group about breastfeeding in public, only 40% said they had breastfed in public. Steph, one of the mothers who does breastfeed, said that she doesn't do it in public and replied with this: "I personally love breastfeeding because it made me feel like I bonded so much deeper with my baby. But I never did it for open eyes to see in the public, mostly because I felt I would be judged and my anxiety couldn't handle people watching me." I feel as though Steph has provoked a feeling of sympathy for her and has well explained her fear of breastfeeding in public. She has not over-exaggerated her feelings, which makes the statement believable to the audience. I feel as though we are emotionally drawn to this sentence with the words judged, anxiety, and people watching me. These three things alone can give the reader a sense of unease. Kim, one of the mothers who does breastfeed, said that she doesn't do it in public and replied with this: "As a mother, breastfeeding didn't work for me, but if you can, great. I would like all mothers to be discreet. You don't normally go around publicly dropping a boob out. As a woman, that makes me feel uncomfortable." I feel as though Kim has provoked a feeling of authority, especially with the way she has used the language. It clearly shows she has a different view, even as a mother. Although, I feel as though Kim has disassociated herself as a mother with this sentence alone. She says that she would like mothers to be discreet, as it is not normal to just drop a boob. In that sentence, she has left out the fact why the boob is being dropped, and doesn't make a reference to breastfeeding. This made me read it as, she views breastfeeding as someone with their boobs out. What catches my attention next is that she refers to herself as a woman and not a mother. My question back to that sentence would be, as a mother, what does it make you feel uncomfortable to see another mother breastfeeding in public? When asking mothers what their opinion was on discipline for children in public, I found that 100% of them agreed on disciplinary actions. 40% of the mothers have not had to discipline their child in public yet, as their kid is still an infant. But they agreed that when the time comes, they would do so. Many of the mothers with the experience shared how they discipline their child. Most of them said tone of voice, a look, or a smack or tap on the wrist or the bum. Julie, children need guidelines and rules. They'll be adults one day. Sam, children these days are far too sensitive and greedy. Yet again, parents feel like they can't tell their children off because they're being judged or deemed unfit. Jasmine, I believe a tap on the fingers and getting down to their level and using a firm voice, but not yelling, where you make yourself look stupid for yelling at a child. Caitlin, I was disciplined as a child, and I feel as though it's helped me become the lady I am today. The law. Under the Federal Sex Discrimination Act 1984, it is illegal in Australia to discriminate against a person either directly or indirectly on the grounds of breastfeeding. Direct discrimination happens when a person treats someone less favourably than another person. It is illegal to discriminate against someone in the areas of accommodation, customer service, and education because of their association with a child, which includes breastfeeding. If it is against the law to discriminate women in public, including breastfeeding, how can people are getting away with it? Will all laws get a blind eye? Shoplifting? Murder? A law is a law. When will enough be enough? It is understandable that some cases may make you feel uneasy. If people start fighting back by squirting their attackers with breast milk, surely there's a problem. I ask you this, is there a problem? If so, when is the change? Back to you, Isabel.
Thanks for that, Michael. Now over to Renee.
In a society where taking care of our children is a number one priority, fathers are being publicly shamed, humiliated, and called disgusting for giving their children the quality care they need when in public. Criticism occurs when fathers take their young children, particularly infants and toddlers, out and need to change and feed them. Fathers today do take more initiative and active participation in their children's lives, like the All-Male Parents and Friends Committee at St Columba's Catholic Primary in Leichhardt. After organising a school fete, 4 dads realised it was time to take on more volunteering responsibilities. This is an outstanding model of fathers doing their part to be involved in their kids' lives and the communities they are a part of, which should be viewed as a positive development in society's beliefs and ideologies, particularly of equality and the role of a father in a child's life. So why is it that so many fathers like Damien Leeson are under attack for being more involved in their kids' lives? In February 2017, Leeson took his 7-week-old daughter Harper to a shopping centre. Needing to change her nappy, he entered a parent's room and began feeding Harper. A mother walked in and called him dirty and raged. "That's disgusting to see a full-grown man in a parent's room with a little girl." Leeson did not deserve this shaming and criticism for taking care of his own daughter in a society that urges fathers to take on more responsibility with their kids. The public responded to this issue, expressing their outrage and claiming that similar incidents have happened to them and their partners. Anthony Edwards recounted his similar experience when his son was 2 years of age being called a creep in a parent's room by a woman breastfeeding. Edward's language was informal and colloquial. It was long compared to comments from women on the topic, but relatable to parents reading the article. Describing the incident, he used quotation marks to enforce that it was a parent's room and to quote the remarks of the mother. He skips the pronouns of his first and second to last sentences and ends his comment with a positive message for Damien Leeson. Father of two, Jeremy Phillips, said he has had several similar experiences while entering a parent's room, stating he gets strange looks, even recounting his brother being called a perv for entering a parent's room as a woman was breastfeeding. This illustrates that dads are being criticised for their involvement in being involved parents, made to feel inadequate compared to mothers. The types of evidence used by the fathers were personal experience, as the two fathers retell their own experiences, and fallacies that occurred include similarity and hasty generalisation. According to the father involvement research, involved dads equals successful children. Evidence has proven that children that have had fathers involved in their upbringing are generally more emotionally stable, confident in new situations, and enthusiastic to engage in their own environment. A big example of the gender bias towards women and mothers occurs in dance schools. Innes Dance Studio's annual performance required many group mums to help in dressing rooms. Until 2007, there were no restrictions against fathers helping in dressing rooms, as evident in the 2007 Annual Performance Handbook. However, the 2010 handbook clearly states that fathers and or males are not permitted in the dressing room. Dance Vibe Studio also stated in their 2015 handbook that only one adult female per dancer is allowed backstage at the dress rehearsal. Also, absolutely no males are allowed in the dressing room area. A Melbourne dance studio disallowed the father and sole guardian of 4-year-old Charlie to help backstage. Michael Ray was in shock when he was told he would not be allowed to share with his daughter the nerves and excitement of her first dance concert, simply because he was not a mother. He was also shocked to find out that there were special Mummy and Me tickets available for a preview. Distraught over the situation as a single parent, he fought for this ban to be relinquished, and it was. It is evident here in the shaming of fathers and the restrictions with their involvement in their children's lives that people believe that only mothers can and should look after their children.
Renee with that report there. Now over to Natasha in the studio. Thanks, Isabel. It appears the public have adopted a generally negative attitude towards parents. No matter their intention, parents often face huge judgment and scrutiny for the choices they make. The media don't tend to publish articles regarding the care of children unless an altercation publicly occurs. It's for this reason that many instances of parents receiving this negative, abusive language go unnoticed. There's still a very large stigma attached to public breastfeeding in today's society. For simply adhering to their child's needs, women are subject to aggressive comments that are completely unjust. As presented in the Breastfeeding Social Experiment video, the breastfeeding woman is asked multiple times if she could stop or do that somewhere else, and is even told that it's disgusting by members of the general public. The main reason that the public may react this way, as stated by Miss Key-Wolf in her research article, is because for many years it has been common knowledge that breasts are a sexual body part, and there has been little to no active educating until very recently that they are the tool of breastfeeding. Breastfeeding in a public setting is an unfamiliar sight to the majority of people, and it is clear that they choose to express this discomfort openly and negatively to breastfeeding mothers. There are other reasons that the public may react negatively, such as the perceived indecency of breastfeeding, the fact that breastfeeding is an intimate act that many believe has no place in a public setting, or even if the sight of breastfeeding just makes people feel uncomfortable. In an effort to reduce the amount of negative stigma associated with mothers breastfeeding in public, many Australian businesses have implemented a breastfeeding welcome here approach, with 26 businesses utilising this approach in Adelaide alone. This has been designed to improve the overall acceptance of public breastfeeding, highlighting the benefits of breastfeeding a child and making mothers feel more at ease. Stigma may also be reduced by planning responses to the comments mothers face. If they simply say, "No, I'm not going to stop, I'm going to feed my child," this would show members of the public that these comments have no effect on what they're doing, and they're not going to stop feeding their child just because some people don't like it. Over time, this may reduce the negativity and increase the acceptance surrounding breastfeeding in public. While these solutions do show an improvement in the issue at hand, breastfeeding mothers still face discrimination on a daily basis. Under the Federal Sex Discrimination Act 1984, it is illegal in Australia to discriminate against a person either directly or indirectly on the grounds of breastfeeding, yet it still happens. Why should women face scrutiny for taking care of their child? Women are not the only ones who face discrimination for simply taking care of their children. Recently in Queensland, Damien Leeson was shamed in public and called a dirty old man for being inside a parent's room tending to his newborn daughter. One person openly said, quote, "That's disgusting to see a full-grown man in a parent's room with a little girl. But how is it disgusting when he's just a dad feeding his daughter?" Men are naturally seen as the more intimidating of the sexes, so this is perhaps the reason for this experience. But surely if he's peacefully feeding a newborn, people would make the connection that it's his daughter and leave him be. Many members of the public have come to his defence, with one stating it's called a parent's room for a reason, and that's absolutely true. The parent's room is named as such to account for both men and women attending to their children. Why is it that a woman can change and feed her child with no reactions whatsoever, but a man can't? What about single dads? They wouldn't have a choice if they need to tend to their child in public. Would they be discriminated against for going into the parent's room? It's sad that in this society, fathers cannot take care of their child without experiencing scrutiny. If the media began to publish articles highlighting both the benefits of breastfeeding and the rights all parents, including fathers, have, the negativity parents face would significantly reduce over time. All parents strive to provide their child with the best care possible, and it's not fair that they are on the receiving end of abuse.
Thank you, Natasha, for that vital information. We all must be made aware of the seriousness and unjust nature of this discrimination. Now please, I ask you to turn to the person next to you and ask them, would you want your mum or dad to experience this discrimination for no reason? Or better yet, would you want to experience this discrimination if you ever chose to have a child? My name is Isabel Gall, it's 2 PM report. Have a good night.